Hello, you're listening to 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell. That was Wounded Animal by the Motor League. And this is GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. Once again, I'm your host, Jell, and we'd like to kick the show off with what the new releases for the week are, and what's coming up next week, and what anime are in theaters. And wow, we've got some surprises on the anime front. And, gonna tell you right now, a hefty chunk of the show, not after this, there we will talk about video game news, and there's not a lot of news, but a lot of big points to cover, and of course, Sonic Forces came out yesterday, and to say that's a divisive game would be an understatement. I've been playing it, nearly beaten it. I have it on both PS4 and Nintendo Switch, so I can tell you all about that, and that will definitely be a major focus of today. But first, what games came out this week on PlayStation 4? Well, first we have America's Greatest Game Shows, Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, along with, Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy being sold separately. There's a double pack that has both of them. ATV Drift and Tricks, which you absolutely should not buy. Yes, that is one of our news stories. ATV Drift and Tricks is an ATV driving game. It has VR support. Sounds super good until you look closer and you realize it is Moto Racer 4. They literally just took Moto Racer 4, removed half the content, and are selling it again. It is a recycled game. There is some side-by-side comparison footage. They've added in 3 new tracks. But I'm hearing the ATVs don't really handle all that different from the dirt bikes from Moto Racer 4. The tracks are identical. The graphics are identical. The VR features are identical. It is missing, of course, all of the on-road tracks. So it is... I hear the drivers are even identical. So ATV Drift and Tricks is kind of a scam, so don't buy it. Moving right along. For some reason, Blue Reflection is listed, but that already came out. Something called Discovery, Hand of Fate 2, Hitman Game of the Year Edition, Horizon Zero Dawn, The Frozen Wilds, which is a big ol' expansion pack for Horizon Zero Dawn, Jeopardy alone, League of War VR Arena, which is a one-on-one weird real-time strategy game in VR, but the cool thing is that one player can play in VR and the other player can play on the controller with the TV screen, and the two can play against each other, so that way they can't see what one another are doing. But for some reason, it does not support playing on TV single player. Excuse me. You have to have VR for single player, and I don't understand that. Moving right along, though, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Episode 5 Don't Stop Believin' and Minecraft Story Mode Season 2 Episode 4 Below the Bedrock have both come out, so Telltale Games is just turning those out. Need for Speed Payback Deluxe Edition, Neo Complete Edition, which Neo was sort of Dark Souls meets Ninja Gaiden. It was very well received. This is, of course, one that comes with all the DLC. Professional Construction, the simulation, also came out. For some reason, Senran Kagura Estival Versus and Shantae Half Genie Hero are listed. Both of those already came out, I assure you. I own them both. But we do have some Shantae news later in the show. Moving right along, Sonic Forces and the Sonic Forces free episode Shadow DLC came out. The Elder Scrolls Online, Clockwork City, Way of Redemption, and Wheel of Fortune individually. Today, Max, The Curse of Brotherhood has hit the PlayStation 4. I remember that was released on at least it was released on a Xbox. I don't remember if it was 360 or one or both or what. But anyway, Max, Curse of Brotherhood hit PS4 now. Following that, Ace of Seafood and Siberia 3 and Automaton with a Plan will be out tomorrow. The day after that, Need for Speed Payback, Next Machina Death Machine, Sonic Forces is weirdly listed again, and Wuppo. Whatever the heck Wuppo is, that will also be out. So that's what's out this week on PlayStation 4. This week on Xbox One, America's Greatest Game Shows, Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. Assault Android Cactus, which is a neat little twin-stick shooter. I think that hit a bunch of other systems earlier. Now it's on Xbox One, so good times there. Hand of Fate 2, Hitman Game of the Year Edition, Jeopardy individually, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Episode 5 Don't Stop Believin', Minecraft Story Mode Season 2 Episode 4 Below the Bedrock, so both of those came out. Minecraft includes Explorers Pack. I don't know why that's listed. I'm pretty certain Minecraft's already been out for a while. I'm getting these lists, by the way, from Game FAQ, so they could be a little wonky, but I don't know where else to get such a well-organized list. So, moving right along, Need for Speed Payback Deluxe Edition, Outcast Second Conduct, Sonic Forces and Sonic Forces Episode Shadow, Super Lucky's Tale, which I am very salty about, because that was an Oculus Rift game, and now they're like, oh, it's going to be an Xbox One exclusive with the VR removed. Thanks. Anyway, but I hear it's a very good game. Anyway, following that, The Elder Scrolls Online Clockwork City, Wheel of Fortune, World of Tanks X Edition, and the Xbox One X has come out, which is, of course, an enhanced Xbox One that is more powerful. It's supposed to be even more powerful than the PlayStation 4 Pro, but the same general idea. But there's plenty of arguments, like, calling that into question, because, of course, Microsoft's like, oh yeah, full 4K visuals with no compromises, and then there's a whole bunch of compromises on the horizon. So it is definitely more powerful. Some games will be enhanced. Indeed, Sonic Forces, I hear, is quite a bit enhanced by the Xbox One X. So that's the thing. Moving right along, 911 Operator came out today for Xbox One. And tomorrow, Siberia 3 and Automaton with a Plan. And the day after that, Need for Speed Payback and Wuppo. I do like saying Wuppo, at least. Moving on, Nintendo Switch, what'd you get? Well, Nintendo Switch got Farming Simulator, Nintendo Switch Edition, Heroes of the Monkey Tavern, Sonic Forces Episode Shadow. And tomorrow it is getting Koi DX, Maria the Witch, which has nothing to do with the anime. It's very much a port of a mobile game, and interestingly made by Naps Team, which is the people behind Gekido? It doesn't look that good, though. So I don't know. Anyway, Octodad, Dadliest Catch, Spellspire, Super Putty Squad, and Talomere are all coming out tomorrow for Switch. And following that, Cat Quest Doom, as in the new Doom, apparently that's coming to Switch, and Snipper Clips Plus, Cut It Out Together, a expanded version of Snipper Clips, which has been one of the most well-received Nintendo Switch games. It's a very strange puzzle game with fantastic presentation where you, like, kind of play pieces of papers with eyes and legs that can cut shapes in one another to solve puzzles. The best part is the facial expressions they make. It gets very interesting. Anyway, moving on, 3DS tomorrow is getting Bonds of the Skies, which, if I recall, was one of Kemco's monthly mobile RPGs, now getting a 3DS port, and something called RTO. And day after tomorrow, Mario Party The Top 100 and Minecraft New Nintendo 3DS Edition are coming out. The new Nintendo 3DS meaning the actual system. Anyway, PlayStation Vita, because yes, the Vita still gets game, got Maldita Castilla EX Cursed Castilla, which is sort of an indie Ghosts and Goblins clone, which I hear is very good. And day after tomorrow, it will getting La Mulana EX Collector's Edition. So good times there. So what comes out next week? Well, next week, the PlayStation 4 is getting Ben 10, BioShock 10th Anniversary Edition, Ultimate Collector's Edition, and BioShock The Collection 10th Anniversary Edition. Just release all the Collector's Editions, why don't you? Cat Quest, Cities Skylines Snowfall, so I guess that's expansion. De Blob, which, if I recall, that's a Nintendo Wii game that was received well enough to get ported to everything. Demon's Gaze 2, wow, that's next week, interesting. That's a mildly lewd dungeon crawler that's been on Vita, and now it's getting a PS4 port. Don't expect amazing graphics, but there's a lot of nice 2D artwork. Farming Simulator 17 Platinum Edition. L.A. Noire is apparently getting a PlayStation 4 port, along with Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, Outcast Second Contact, Professional Farmer 2017 Gold Edition, Professional Farmer American Dream, Realms of Arcania Blade of Destiny, Road Rage, which is a new, like, Road Rash style indie game. Star Wars Battlefront 2 Elite Trooper Deluxe Edition. The Sims 4 Deluxe Party Edition. Yes, The Sims 4 finally gets a console port. And you can get it so much cheaper on PC now, so I don't know why you... whatever. Transport Giant, Trove Adventures, and then later on... Is that later on that same week? Yes, that next Friday, Crawl, Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter, which is a squad-based third-person shooter set in the One-chan-bara Bikini Zombie Slayers universe. These are real things. Star Wars Battlefront 2. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim VR comes out next Friday. Gotta prepare for that. It'll be the first time I'll actually play Skyrim. The Elder Scrolls series never went well with me. But put it in VR, I'm a little more interested. It says The Sims 4 and The Sims 4 bundle, City Living Vampires and Vintage Glamour stuff all come out Friday, even though they come out Tuesday, whatever. And Tricky Towers. So that's what the PlayStation 4 is getting next week. Gonna have to brace myself. What about the Xbox One? Well, the Xbox One is getting Ben 10, Bioshock 10th Anniversary Edition, and Bioshock the Collection, Cities, Skyline, Snowfall, The Blob, Farming Simulator 17 Platinum Edition, L.A. Noire, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, Professional Farmer 2017 Gold Edition, Realms of Arcania, Blade of Destiny, Road Rage, Star Wars Battlefront 2 Elite Trooper Deluxe Edition, The Sims 4 Deluxe Party Edition, Trove Adventures, and then on the 16th it is getting Ashes Cricket, and then on the 17th, Aquatica Turtle Racing. Okay. Star Wars Battlefront 2, The Sims 4, and The Sims 4 Bundle City Living Vampires and Vintage Glamour stuff. Whoo! Nintendo Switch, what are you getting next? Oh, okay. It's not as crazy as it looks. Next week, Nintendo Switch is getting Batman the Telltale series, Ben 10, It'll Do 2 Plus, which is sort of a indie Zelda clone. It's kind of neat. L.A. Noire is coming to the Nintendo Switch. Hey, that's neat. Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, Lumo, Pinball FX 3, and a bajillion pinball tables for it. Rhyme, Rocket League. And then on Friday, Ginger Beyond the Crystal, whatever that is. Rive, Ultimate Edition. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. So that is coming to both Switch and PlayStation VR at the same time. Good times. And V is coming to Nintendo Switch next week. 3DS next week is, oh dear, is that? Yeah, next Friday, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It's go time. And Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon Steelbook Dual Pack. So, for all you really crazy people out there. And the Vita is getting Demon Gaze 2 and Tokyo Tattoo Girls. So, those are the new game releases for next week. What anime is in theaters? Well, first of all, the most surprising thing. I don't know who's releasing this, but there's an anime called A Silent Voice about a guy who used to bully a deaf girl in elementary school, only for the bullying to get turned around on him, and he lives with guilt for, like, a ton of his life, and he and this deaf girl, never interact with one another, and now he wants to see her again and apologize for what a jerk he was. So, sounds like a very dramatic tale. It is showing apparently only at the Mills and only at 7 p.m. tonight. So 7 p.m. tonight at the Mills, A Silent Voice. I don't know if it's dubbed or subbed. I don't know who the heck is releasing this. Let me click the Fandango link. It's got a very high score on Rotten Tomatoes, so it could be very nice. Don't know if this is... I don't know if this is subbed or dubbed, but that's happening! I don't know. That just caught me off guard, because it's not from Funimation. I don't know who's releasing this. But it'll be at the Mill, so A Silent Voice. Also, if you missed Pokemon the Movie I Choose You, which is sort of a movie-fied retelling of the first couple episodes of the Pokemon TV series, mixed with, like, a bunch of new stuff, too. Like, it's sort of a what if... It's like a what if the first episode of... the first couple episodes of Pokemon, if we had already made it to Sun and Moon by that time. So there's stuff from all the more recent games in there as well. It seems kind of interesting. It's actually a very cinematic-looking film. Anyway, if you missed that last week, good news. They are putting it back in theaters this Saturday at 12:55 p.m., Sunday at 12:55 p.m., though that one appears to just be Ronnie's. And then it will be back again on Tuesday, November 14th at 7 p.m. So they did extend that, but important thing to note, they will likely not have any more trading cards to give out. Because apparently if you went the first weekend, you got an exclusive Pokemon TCG card of, like, Pikachu wearing Ash's crazy new cap. He has a weird new symbol on his hat in the movie because it's weird. Anyway, moving right along, at the end of the month, November 26th, 27th, and 29th, Howl's Moving Castle will also be in theaters as part of G-Kid's Studio Ghibli Fest 2017. And I'd like to point something out here. Pokemon, the movie I Choose You, was supposed to just be a 2-day event. And then shortly before it started, they extended it. Same thing happened with Studio Ghibli Fest. These were all supposed to be 2-day events, and now they've made them into 3-day events, starting with Castle in the Sky. This just makes me happy, because of course I'm reporting on anime that is showing up in movie theaters because they are special event. They are limited time, usually Fathom event things. You do have to go out of your way to catch some anime in movie theaters. But it is very clear, of course, from the fact that they are extending these things that, oh, hey, there is an audience for this. And I don't know if I'm expanding that audience or not, but it does make me happy to know that that is a thing. Anyway, EGAD, that was a whole lot of talking because, well, wouldn't you know it, we're coming up on that holiday season. I think I'm gonna talk a little bit more before we take the break. We are coming up on the holiday season, and as such, games are getting released in larger and larger quantities, especially E-rated games, because you gotta get all your pieces in place for the big Black Friday rush, and all the stuff. You gotta get that out there for the Christmas shopping. You gotta get that out there, before the end of November, because that's when things go nuts. I've noticed that there have been a lot of midnight openings at GameStop, which those have gotten really complicated. Because back in the old days, it was just the store opened at midnight. They've actually changed the protocol on that. Now the store just, what they've changed now is it's when the store closes, like at 9 o'clock. They can usually do their midnight openings if they do one, but this actually puts new restrictions in place as well. I bring this up because, of course, I tried to get Sonic Forces at midnight, which I succeeded in, but it took a whole lot of phone calls. No fault of the people working at the GameStop, obviously. It's sort of a company thing. See, because now they don't know when, if they're supposed to release games or not. I remember going to some pretty ludicrous midnight openings just because I could, because I'm usually awake at midnight anyway. There's actually a video on the Gelton Z YouTube channel, if you want to look that up, called the Hip Hop Blops Experience. It's a very long story, but on the day that Call of Duty Black Ops, I don't remember if it was 1 or 2, when Call of Duty Black Ops released and they did the midnight opening for it, I showed up to pick up the Hip Hop Dance Experience on Kinect. There's a very good reason for this. It's because it was developed by Innis, makers of Gitaru Man, and they had already impressed me with what they did with the Black Eyed Peas experience. I don't even like the Black Eyed Peas, but the Black Eyed Peas experience was actually pretty good. Again, it was a dancing game on Kinect. That's the one thing the Kinect does well, and Black Eyed Peas experience on Kinect was weird. It is completely different from the Wii one. It is a strange, strange game. So I was actually like, I'm going to pre-order the Hip Hop Dance Experience and pick that up at midnight because I can. I don't know if they'd be able to do that anymore because, now they need, special orders / permission to sell it after close but before midnight. It certainly gummed up the works. And at the same time, I feel bad that it's gummed up the works. I hope they can get that ironed out a little bit, because I feel bad for employees, going home for 2 hours and then coming back out. You gotta, if you've never worked retail, you don't know the nightmare that it is, even if you're working at GameStop. Retail is not a fun time. And to any retail employees who are listening to this, I'm sorry, keep up the good work and good luck. I've been there. And, that's just, it's kind of a thing. So, it's one of those things where it's like, wow, this is really gumming up the way that midnight releases work, but at the same time, it's getting the employees home faster, which should be more important in the long run. And the reason why this becomes even more interesting is, of course, because we live in the age of the digital download. Now, when you pre-order a game online, it can download to your hard drive ahead of time, and the moment the clock strikes 12, it unlocks and you can play it. So, that has created situations where if you buy it digitally, you get it earlier. But now, with GameStop actually, selling some of their midnight releases at 9 o'clock, sometimes you can get it physically earlier. And that could be a huge advantage for them, because I know that brick-and-mortar stores, have trouble competing with an online marketplace. I've actually had a lot of people give me crap, because they're like, why would you even go to a GameStop? Why would you go to a brick-and-mortar store? And my response is, of course, because I'm a video game collector, and I live off of physical editions, off of physical copies. I'm one of those people that limited run games was made for. I like having a hard copy of my games if I can get it, because you never know when the files will get corrupted, when the servers will get shut down, when everything collapses in on itself. It is not a sure thing. It's good on PC, because PC has Steam, but there will never, ever, ever, ever be anything like Steam for consoles. Period. It cannot happen. Because, consoles are unreliable. None of them rule the roost all the time. Microsoft was great during the 360 generation, but I've questioned a lot of their choices with the Xbox One. Same way, a lot of people were cool with Sony for PlayStation 1 and 2, but then they really dropped the ball with the PlayStation 3 and picked it up mid-generation. It's a lot more... There's a lot more to it than PCs. The consoles rise and fall. That's my point. Anyway, let us see. I think we are going to listen to Make 10 by Lou Got Cash. So we will take a quick break, listen to Make 10 by Lou Got Cash here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. And when we get back, we will dump some video game news on you and then begin discussing Sonic Forces, one of the most divisive games of the year. Stay tuned, please enjoy, and thank you for... That was Don't You Need Somebody by Red One, featuring Enrique Iglesias and R City, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Once again, I'm your host, Jell, and this is GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. I'm glad to be here, so... let's dive right on into news and information. First and foremost, I cannot stress this enough, do not buy ATV Driftin' Tricks. It is literally just a re-release of last year's Moto Racer 4 with half the content cut, but like 3 more tracks. And that's sketchy enough as it is, considering the huge delay between Moto Racer 4's release in the rest of the world and in America, and I don't know if they actually completed their season pass. Moto Racer 4 did not do well. But if you have any interest in ATV Driftin' Tricks, just get Moto Racer 4. It's like half the price and has twice the content now. Because, it's a year old. Moving right along, though, let's get some good news out there. Shantae, Friends to the End DLC is coming soon. It is completed, ready to go, going through certification, and then it will be up in stores. What is Shantae, Friends to the End? Well, it is the reason why I donated $200 to the Shantae Half Genie Hero Kickstarter. What it is if you've played Half Genie Hero, you know there's this one point towards the end of the story where that involves Nega Shantae, and it's really awkward because one of the stretch goals for the Kickstarter was like an extra stage where you fought Nega Shantae, and we didn't make that goal. So Nega Shantae kind of shows up and then immediately goes away, and it's really awkward. Well, now to replace that weird spot, we have the stretch goal we did meet, Friends to the End, where everyone, Sky, Bolo, and Roddy Tops all go into Shantae's mind and fight against, like, warped memories of the past, which means, like, variants of the different stages. The twist here is that you get to play as all three of them at once, switching between different characters to use their different abilities. Sky has the ability to summon birds to use as platforms and can also throw birds at you, Maria Renard style from Dracula X. Bolo, meanwhile, has his Bolo chain, allowing him to use it like a grappling hook or like a bionic commando, as it were, while Roddy Tops she can both break off her leg and beat enemies with it, a fantastic reference to my favorite scene from the first game, and she can also throw her head and have her body, like, follow it, and I think she can use her head as a weapon as well, sort of like Chuck D. Head from, wow, why did the name of that game escape me? Decap Attack. Sort of like Chuck D. Head from Decap Attack, but not. So I'm super happy because I've wanted playable Roddy Tops since the first Shantae. That's the reason I increased my Kickstarter pledge, and thankfully that means I'll be getting it for free. I don't know how much you all are paying, but either way, it sounds like a ton of fun. The content is complete. It just needs to get through the certification process, and then we will all be able to play it and enjoy it. Interestingly, I still don't have my blue pants, though. At least as far as I know. Should probably ask them about that. Anyway, so, Shantae Friends to the End DLC, that's coming out. Good times for everyone. I have also heard that Assassin's Creed Origins on PC is so caked with DRM that it runs badly. Like, it has de novo, and then it has another kind of DRM on top of Uplay and something else, and all the DRM is conflicting and slowing the game down. And why is DRM a thing again? Why is de novo back? I thought we got rid of that. Like, I really... You know, I constantly get crap from PC gamers because I stick to console, and I want to preface this, I completely understand. If you have the time and energy and patience to get your PC games running well, it is a vastly superior experience, because the sky's the limit on a PC, on top of the fact that you can mod it, so when things go awry, you can fix them. Even a bad PC port can be made great. You can hack games and do all sorts of things with them in order to make them run better and better year after year as you upgrade your PC. So I completely and utterly understand why PC gamers love their PCs. If anyone wants to know why I'm not a fan of PC gaming, though, it is because, for some reason, something goes wrong every time. Like, people have been baffled by the fact that out of nowhere, my copy of OBS Studio that I use for streaming has just randomly been crashing up a storm. I changed literally nothing about my computer, just all of a sudden, every time I try to stream, something will cause OBS Studio to crash. I think I've solved it, though. Switching to the 64-bit version helps, and heck yeah, is that a problem. I could rant for hours about the problems I have with PCs, but the long and short of it is that I just can't get games running on PC. But one of the other reasons that I'm kind of happy to be on consoles is I don't have to worry about this DRM crap. I don't know why it's back, but it is very interesting, because would you believe, once upon a time, about in 2006, everyone was saying it was PC gaming that was dying and not console games. And do you know why? DRM, like de novo. See, DRM means digital rights management, if you're unfamiliar. What it means is copy protection to try to prevent piracy. It doesn't work, though, because if someone's going to pirate your game, they're going to pry the DRM out of it. The problem was, this DRM tended to be so poorly made and intrusive that it was a huge security risk, and sometimes worse than a virus. Like, I've heard reports of copy protection that would break elements of your computer. Like, they could break your CD drive or your DVD drive. Could be broken by badly made DRM. And keep in mind, that's not for someone pirating the game. That's for someone who bought it legitimately. the people who pirate the game suffer no consequences because they took out the DRM. It was utterly ludicrous, and it brought PC gaming to its knees once upon a time. Because back then we didn't have Steam. Like, I think Steam might have been around, but it hadn't really gained popularity. People had not yet warmed up to Steam. It was not the catch-all dominator of the PC market. Steam very, very much saved PC gaming with the way that it is, the fact that it can act as a replacement for DRM just in and of itself. You don't need to put DRM in there. And for the longest time, I hadn't heard word one about bad DRM, and now all of a sudden, it's back. Speaking of which, I know we're going to talk about Sonic Forces later. The PC port of Sonic Forces is bad. Do not play it on PC. At launch, it crashed at Stage 3 every time, which is, about 5 minutes into the game. Very early in, on top of the fact that, yes, it does have de novo DRM, and it is horribly unoptimized. So, yeah, the PC, which is weird, because Sega has a good track record of PC ports, but the PC port of Sonic Forces in its current state is a mess. It will likely get fixed in the near future, because, there are problems. But right now, you want Sonic Forces on a console. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, yeah, it's, I do find it really weird that DRM is back. I thought we got rid of that stuff. But here it's showing back up again, and it could bring PC gaming to its knees. And I refuse to gloat, because that's one of the big problems. That's the reason why PC versus console and console versus console gets so dumb, is because everyone has to get a big stupid ego about, I have the better version, I know how to play the games right. And it always drives me nuts hearing these stupid arguments. So yes, I'm happy that since I'm getting these things on PS4, I don't have to put up with de novo as like the one advantage, but man, I understand why PC gaming is often seen as superior, and it sucks because there's a lot of people who stuck with PC gaming, who haven't bought these consoles, and they're not going to buy these consoles, and they are getting screwed out of a lot of games. Or are they? Because more than likely, they're just going to pirate versions that have the DRM removed, and then that's that, and then it's the companies losing out, and then they go, gee, why are our PC ports not selling? I guess PC gaming is dead. There's a lot of stupid. The thing you have to know about the video game industry, it is full of stupid. Moving right along, hey, what a surprise, Final Fantasy 15 Comrades has been delayed until November 15th. Delay with Final Fantasy 15? I would have never expected that. If you're unfamiliar, Comrades is going to be a big old DLC pack for Final Fantasy 15 that adds an online multiplayer mode with custom characters. Essentially, it takes the world and the combat system of Final Fantasy 15, which I hear they're upgrading the combat system again. It takes Final Fantasy 15 and says, bam, it's an MMO now. Which I don't believe multiplayer modes are really necessary, but in a game like Final Fantasy 15 where you already have this big ol' single-player story-driven world you can run around in, I'm not going to say no to adding a multiplayer mode like that. That's actually kind of a cool idea. And I admit, I will be buying Final Fantasy 15 for this expansion pack. And I'm so glad I waited because I've been following the price. Because I expected Comrades to increase the price of 15. It didn't. It is... Final Fantasy 15 is super cheap now at GameStop for, used. So I need to just grab a used one. Oh, God, I need more space on my PS4 hard drive. Ugh. It's because wrestling games take up too much space. Anyway, hey, speaking of good news, Penguin-Kun Wars! Yeah, guess what? They finally have a trailer out for the American version of the game. They're dropping the Kun. They're just calling it Penguin Wars. Yes, Penguin Wars is back. Coming to America early 2018. So I do not regret purchasing it early. I should sit down and see if I can kick out a review for that before launch so everyone knows how awesome it is. Because yes, netcode not so hot. Has a few weird design choices, like with the presentation of some of the retro graphics they tried to do, but in general, God, Penguin-Kun Wars is great, and as a cheap download, yeah. If you like Mario sports games, Penguin-Kun Wars is That game is kind of amazing. And on top of all of this, we'll talk perhaps a little bit more in-depth about this later, but Nintendo did a Nintendo Direct for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. You can watch the archive of it on their YouTube channel. It's like 18 minutes long. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is supposedly coming December 1st. It is coming in December. Japanese voice option will be free DLC, and the game looks phenomenal. It takes the sort of MMO-ish gameplay of the Xenoblade Chronicles series and further expands and improves upon it. It has a ton of characters. The visual style is very, very, very anime this time. Like, way more so than before. And it looks like it is going to be a big, long, meaty RPG for your Nintendo Switch. Big ol' free-roaming open-world RPG adventure. Tons of characters because your weapons... Like, I think your weapons are actually characters. So you get to collect, like, this gigantic pile of generic characters. And then the rare blades are all these, like, crazy characters designed by various famous character designers. So each one has, like, wildly different character designs. And I'm gonna be honest, I love that kind of thing when you have just all sorts of different character designers with different visual styles all contributing to the same game. I love that because, each one has their own unique aesthetic sensibilities, and you wind up with way more interesting and varied character designs that way. Although sometimes they don't always mesh. I think they're meshing pretty well here. It sounds like fun. The ability to collect a pile of characters sounds like fun. Xenoblade has generally been pretty okay. I still like Final Fantasy XII more, though. But it'll be nice to have such a big RPG on Switch. And it's weird, too. Because I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can't believe they've got this coming out this fast. Because this looks like, the kind of RPG you have to wait quite a few years for. This looks Final Fantasy 15 level, It looks big and deep and... it looks like the kind of thing that's probably going to take like 100 hours to beat. Like, this thing looks huge. And I'm like, how do you have that out on, like, Nintendo Switch year one? That is legitimately impressive. And it makes me wonder if maybe they were developing it for Wii U. Because that would make a lot of sense. They made Xenoblade Chronicles X. Maybe that put the technology in place. They were like, okay, now we just take Xenoblade Chronicles X's engine and we make it again. And maybe they were working on this for Wii U and they switched it to Switch. I could see that happening. I don't know. Like, you know what? I think that... Let's not kid ourselves. I'm sorry. I'm being stupid here. Nintendo knew they were making the Switch. Because I've been looking at some things about the Wii U, and I want to make this clear. I love the Wii U. I love the Wii U so much, but it is such a bizarre system because Nintendo had to carry that system by themselves. Like, no one made games for it. It was all Nintendo, and Nintendo made a bunch of good stuff on the Wii U, a bunch of which is getting ported to Switch, but Nintendo made a bunch of good stuff on Wii U. Nothing sold on it, though. Like, nothing. Like, the big 3D Mario game for it, Super Mario 3D World, it has, like, the worst sales of any Mario game ever. That's why it took so long for us to get a new crazy, big fancy Sonic game, is because Sonic Lost World sold horribly and Sega entered into a 3-game exclusivity agreement with Nintendo on the Sonic series, which they were able to weasel out of with the Olympic Games games. But at the same time, guess what? The Rio Olympics, Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympics is the worst-selling game in that franchise. And it might have actually destroyed the series outright. Like, Wii U, no one bought a Wii U. Everything on Wii U sold like crap. That console was a gigantic money sink. I want to make this clear. Nintendo, even when they released the Virtual Boy, they didn't go into the red. Nintendo hadn't been in the red since before they got into video games, when they did this crazy thing with projection skeet shooting galleries. It was weird. They had a weird pseudo-video game thing they did before video games, and there were complications, and that put them in the red eons ago. That was like in the 60s or the 70s. Now it is, 2016, 2016 and like 2015 maybe, Nintendo was in the red due to the Wii U because it was doing that poorly. Every game they made on it lost them money. And they had to keep making games. That's the most fascinating thing about the Wii U. They had to keep that system around. Because I want you to imagine the theoretical scenario if they didn't. And I know you're going to say Nintendo should just go third party. No. Nintendo said the day we go third party is the day we go out of business. That has been a thing they've kind of kept to, and I know a lot of people like Nintendo should go third party. I don't think going third party is going to go well for Nintendo. I understand their hesitation on that. Because the Sega situation was bad, okay? Nintendo goes third party, things will get rough for them. It's kind of hard to explain. But, yeah, Nintendo is determined not to go third party. They are one of the big console manufacturers. I could say they're the only people making, like, classic style just a video game consoles and not, like, watered down, do everything computer entertainment boxes, for better or for worse. And Nintendo, like, so imagine if Nintendo released the Wii U and after a year and a half, they discontinued it and released the Switch. How do you think that would have gone down? Do you think anyone would have bought a Switch? Customer faith in Nintendo would have plummeted. People would have just said, oh, Nintendo will release a system and they'll just cancel it after a year or two. All it takes sometimes is one massive screw-up to utterly destroy your company. So Nintendo had a system that sold like garbage and they knew was a flop, but they had to keep supporting it in order to save face, and that drastically hurt the company. Now, rest assured, Nintendo ain't going out of business anytime soon. In fact, of all the video game manufacturers, I hear they're some of the most successful because they have a lot of classic IPs under their belt. They have a very dedicated fan following. They have Pokemon to a degree. I mean, technically that's Creatures and Game Freak, but Nintendo benefits a lot from Pokemon. And on top of all of that, they have a unique knack for making things that print money. The DS was a huge success. The Wii was a huge success. The Wii U was a stumble, but the Switch is a huge success. And the NES Classic and Super NES Classic were huge successes. Like, Nintendo can dig themselves out of any financial problem by just making more Super Nintendo classics. It's actually a little bit silly. But, so the rest assured, they are doing fine now. But the Wii U was doing really bad. I guarantee you they were probably like, okay, our next system needs to be a smash hit, so let's all start developing our Nintendo Switch games now? I bet that was their plan, was like they had all these games in development behind the scenes. If the Wii U sales suddenly picked up, they could release them on Wii U, but if not, they put them on the Switch. I bet you that's what happened. That's probably what happened with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It is the thing that makes the most logical sense, and it's a funny thing to think about. Anyway, I do believe it is time for a quick break. So, coming up next is Mi Gente by GameBabble featuring Willie Williams here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. And when we get back, we're going to talk Sonic Forces. But until then, here's Mi Gente by GameBabble featuring Willie Williams here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you. That was Wish I Knew You by The Revivalists here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. So, we are going to talk about Sonic Forces in just a minute, but we got some breaking news that has me very excited. A game called Dodgeball Rising has just been announced. It is going to enter Steam Early Access December 14th. It is an arcade-style, super flashy, high-speed dodgeball game with ninjas, samurais, kabuki actors, sumo wrestlers, geishas, and sushi chefs. Set in the Edo period of Japan with big explosive special attacks, and it is supposed to have up to 6-player simultaneous online play. It looks amazing. Basically, it looks like a online version of Super Dodgeball, which is something I think a lot of us have wanted. If you've never played Super Dodgeball, it is a game to play. It is very different from how you probably think it is, but it is incredibly fun. I do love me a good dodgeball game, and I've got a lot of friends who do as well, so I'm very excited to tell them all about Dodgeball Rising. It's from some very random developer. Was it Happynet and Akakusa Studios? I know nothing about these people. They sound very new. It's just going to be on Steam, at least for right now. Maybe they'll do a PS4 port down the road. But, early access December 14th. I'm in. I am freaking in. Unless they charge stupid money for it, I will absolutely be playing that, because that is dodgeball with ninjas and samurai shooting giant fireballs. They showed one of the super moves. You basically throw the dodgeball up in the air and it comes back down as a meteor that strikes the opposing field. Game looks nuts. Super excited. I love crazy arcade sports. You know how I was about Penguin Coon Wars. Still am about Penguin Coon Wars. Penguin Coon Wars was really good, but netcode not quite up to snuff. Definitely something more for local play. We'll see how the netcode is on this. I'll try to keep y'all posted if I can, because oh my god, I am freaking in. So, now that we have that out of the way, it's time to talk Sonic Forces. Yes, Sonic Forces. It's only now, when I was waiting to pick up my copy of the game, that I realized what an interesting year it is. Because we have gotten a new Mario game, a new Crash Bandicoot game, and a new Sonic game, all of which were considered jaw-droppingly good 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 level games. I'm, of course, talking about Sonic Mania when I talk about the Sonic games, but still, we got Sonic Mania, and we got the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, and we got Super Mario Odyssey. All of them amazing, amazing games. And it's been so long since we've had mascot platformers like this, let alone ones of this level of insane quality. So it's a pretty nutty year. But the even nuttier thing is the fact that Sega decided to get a little crazy with Sonic. They were like, hey, we're going to have this Christian Whitehead guy make a classic 2D style Sonic like he wants to, and we're going to continue making a crazy 3D Sonic called Sonic Forces. And, ooh, buddy, this may well be one of the most divisive video games ever made. As someone who's become a little bit of an expert in observing the madness that is the Sonic fandom, I once wrote an article many years ago called Sonic and the Worst Fandom Ever that still gets a lot of views and comments. Oh, buddy. So, I feel I need to explain why that's such a deal. Basically, Sonic had a hard time with the transition to 3D. Sonic Adventure 1 was really good for a first attempt at 3D. It was really great at the time, had some hiccups, but it was pretty good. Unfortunately, because the Dreamcast went under and Sega went third party, hey, it loops back around. The Sonic game quality got really, really shaky, and all the 3D Sonics after Sonic Adventure 1 and arguably 2, I honestly don't like 2, their quality got really shaky. They couldn't recapture the magic of Sonic Adventure 1, which was rapidly aging very poorly. Then, after Sonic 06 wound up being a horrible game, they fired a lot of Sonic team and sort of regrouped and rethought things and made Sonic Unleashed, where they hit upon a formula that actually kind of worked for Sonic. The Werehog stages were weird and divisive, but everyone liked the day stages, where you went fast and it transitioned between 2D and 3D. It looked like Sega had something there, and if they could make a game that was all day stage Sonic Unleashed, they would have been in business. And they said, but that would only be like an hour long, and we said we don't care. We would rather pay full price for a 1 hour long good game than pay full price for a 40-hour long game of questionable quality. And so the result was Sonic Colors on the Nintendo Wii, one of the best third-party games on the Wii, and an actually good, solid 3D Sonic game. People loved it. Following that, Sonic Generations, which had a modern Sonic and a classic Sonic colliding and replaying remakes of stages from throughout Sonic's history in the new modern boost style, as well as in classic 2D style, and people freaking loved it. Sega was on a roll. Could they keep this up? And then on the Nintendo Wii U, they released Sonic Lost World, and no one likes to talk about it. Lost World was weird, an incredibly well-made, well-polished game, ran at a silky smooth 60 FPS, very, very few bugs, beautiful game, tons and tons of content, but it never quite came together. The control scheme was overcomplicated, using every single button on the controller. The enemies were obtuse to defeat, never knowing if you needed to do a homing attack or a kick attack, or a kick then a homing, or a homing then a kick, or a homing twice, or a kick twice, or if you had to kick another enemy into the current enemy. It was a mess. Like, at times it was really good. At other times it was confusing and baffling and just didn't come together, and it never made a cohesive game. And it sold like garbage, and Sega had entered into an exclusivity agreement with Nintendo. Their next 3 Sonic games would be Wii U exclusive. And Big Red Button, which consisted of some ex-Naughty Dog team members who had worked on Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter, were like, hey, we know how to fix Sonic. Let me introduce you to this idea called Sonic Boom. We're going to redesign the characters, and we're going to make a TV series, and it's going to be great. It's going to tie in with this Wii U game, and there's going to be a 3DS game, and the Wii U game came out, and it was garbage. It is the worst Sonic game ever made, one of the worst games I've ever played. It actually redefines boredom. That is the best way to describe Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric on the Nintendo Wii U. It is a game that is more boring than staring at a blank screen. It had invented a new level of boredom I like to call hyper-boredom, or rather compound hyper-boredom. Because what happens is the boredom stacks on top of the boredom until you create a boredom black hole. It's weird. Like, it feels strange to play that game for a couple hours and then stop, because it's like, just, your brain explodes, because you can't believe how much boredom you just suffered through. Basically what I'm saying is the game was boring, and it didn't really resemble a Sonic game at all, and it became infamous for how terrible it was. Like, it's funny, everyone talked about how terrible Sonic Boom was, and not that many people really cared about Colors and Generations being actually good. People knew it was good, but they didn't really play it. Sonic Boom's terrible. Oh, every Let's Player on YouTube and Twitch had to go play that mess. And yeah, it was a disaster. Although the TV show wound up being good. And the 3DS game was alright enough to get a sequel. Still, people were really questioning if Sonic could be good, the mainstream audience, whereas the longtime Sonic fans were like, Sonic Boom doesn't count, and Sonic Lost World wasn't bad. It was a stumble. We didn't really know if Sega could keep up the quality they had introduced in Sonic Colors and Generations, which was why so much was riding on Sonic Forces. Then Sonic Mania comes out and winds up being literally too good. Sonic Mania may well be the greatest Sonic game ever made, and is so good that people have actually gone back and taken back their praise of previous Sonic games. It's saying that Sonic Colors and Generations, which they once said for years were very good, they're now bad in some people's eyes? And the classic Sonic sections of Sonic Generations, once considered to be their strongest point, to the point where people actually wanted a game of just classic Sonic, now that they have Sonic Mania, they're now the worst part of the game. It was weird. The game was literally too good. So we have this situation that put all the hardcore Sonic fans really, really on edge, because they're like, well, not a certain section of Sonic fans were certainly on edge, because they were like, wow, Sonic Forces might have gotten... We're in a situation where had Sonic Mania not come out, Sonic Forces could be scoring higher and get better reviews. And then on top of that, we had that whole debacle a couple weeks ago with the demo. So demo comes out on Switch and later on PS4, and the demo is only on the Japanese store, and it has a 1-minute time limit on all the stages. You barely get started before the demo cuts you off, and you're just like... you barely got a taste of it. So people started talking about how bad the demo was, and that morphed into the game is bad. And so everyone's like, oh, the game is terrible, the game is bad. Sonic Forces is a complete an utter disaster. It's just going to be awful. So everyone was already determined that this game was going to be awful. And so people are so determined to believe this that I actually watched streams. Yesterday, I spent pretty much the whole day either playing Sonic Forces or watching other people play Sonic Forces for the first time, because I had to see what they thought of it. I wanted to know, what's everyone else thinking? And I actually saw a guy who was enjoying the game, yet so many people would come into the chat and be like, oh, it's such a shame about how bad Sonic Forces is. Oh, this game looks terrible. And the dude's having, loads of fun with it. And it's like, what in the entire crap? It's really weird. As if that wasn't weird enough. Of all people, Jim freaking Sterling just came out and admitted to enjoying the game. Now, Jim Sterling is a very divisive figure. I think he says smart things sometimes and dumb things other times. I do find myself agreeing with him a lot, while at the same time not exactly liking the cut of his jib. I even poked fun at his review of Sonic Colors, which I found to be really stupid. Mostly because the crux of his review was that Sonic Colors was more of the same and thus a bad Sonic game, even though it was the game that changed everything, and so that didn't make sense. But, weirdly, he liked Sonic Generations and he loves Sonic Forces. And it's like... And, even if he's doing this just to mess with people, I'm kind of glad he did, because it completely throws the entire narrative off. Polygon gave the game a 5 out of 10, and they weren't too kind to it. And everyone's like, the Famitsu score means nothing, and so no one is really sure. A lot of people are so determined this game is bad, so having someone like that actually come out and say, well, actually, I enjoyed the game, is really quite surprising. But if you want to know my reaction to it, I will be putting that up on YouTube, because as soon as I got my hands on the game, I streamed it. Unfortunately, I could not get the face cam working. I have not yet beaten the game. I've, have 3 or 4 stages left, and before I stream the end of the game, I will get the face cam working, because I want people to see how much I'm just grinning from ear to ear. Because, for me, I'm loving the game. I am absolutely enjoying Sonic Forces. It has been a blast, but, big but, it's not great. Sonic Forces is unquestionably not a bad game. The controls are relatively good, very responsive for the most part, with the exception of just a few weird sections. Game runs fine. It's amazing how well optimized the game is, and we will get into that shortly. The music is phenomenal, decently long, good amount of content. The game is about 3-4 hours long. It's 30 stages. And I know a lot of people say, but it's also not sold at full price. And for a Sonic game, that's actually a good length. It's a very enjoyable game. It is possible to have fun with this, but the stage design is a bit on the bland side, especially for the first half of the game. I think stage 16 is... stage 5 was pretty good, but stage 16 is, the point where I was like, yo, this is actually, a really good stage. And from that point onward was when the game remembered what challenge was, and I actually started enjoying the game. But up until that point, it was dicey. I did not know what to think of the stage design. It was never painful, but it was so dry and bland and kind of just a straight line for the first half of the game. It was never boring, but it was never all that great. And then it picks up later on, but the stage design never reaches the levels of Colors or especially Generation, or even the day stages in Unleashed, which are actually better than Colors and Generation. It's just they're stuck in the middle of Unleashed. And people have actually researched this. The stage design is definitely the weakest point of the game, and stage design really matters in a platformer like this. People actually looked into it and found out that this game had a smaller stage design team than usual for Sonic, and consisted of almost entirely new faces, and that explains so much about the game. So it definitely has flaws. There's been a couple of just weird points in the game. Sometimes the physics just do dumb, outright embarrassing things. Sometimes, it's really hard to land on that stupid grind rail. Sometimes it's tricky to get that homing attack to work. Sometimes what you're supposed to do at the boss isn't entirely clear. Like, okay, the first boss in the game, basically you sit there and you beat up enemies, and then the boss tries to slam the ground, and then you hit it in the face. Here's the thing. You have to let the shockwave of the boss slamming the ground hit you in order to damage the boss. If you jump when the boss hits the ground, you will not be able to hit the boss. And you will have to wait an entire other cycle to hit it. And this is really, really, really unclear. The reflex we all have is, oh, boss is doing a ground slam attack, I need to jump. But no, you need to get hit with the ground slam attack so that way you get flung in the air and can hit the boss. And it doesn't damage you at all. It's not actually, it only damages you if it lands on you. So you move out of the way, let the shockwave fling you in the air, then you hit the boss. That wasn't very well portrayed. So the game definitely has flaws. Unquestionably, I would say from an objective standpoint, it is not as good as Colors and Generation. But from that same objective standpoint, it's not Sonic 06. Shoot, it's not like any of the games that predate Sonic Unleashed. The argument will be how Sonic Forces compares to Lost World and Unleashed. In my personal opinion, I think it is a better game because Unleashed is caked with annoyances that get in the way of its really, really good parts. And Lost World just didn't go well with me. Like, Lost World is the only Sonic game I would actually describe as being meh. Like, it's not bad, but it's not good. Sonic Forces is not meh. Even though it is somewhere slightly above mediocre. And yet you're probably listening to me and my sheer excitement and love for the game, especially, oh egad, if you hear just how happy I am playing that game, it might come off as a little baffling, but to be blunt, I really like it for some of the more ancillary aspects. One of the main features of Sonic Forces is the fact that you get to create your own original character. And the character creation is pretty simple. Character creation is good enough. Choose a gender, choose from like 5-6 different species of animal. Each one has 3 different head shapes. The head shapes are sometimes different between male and female avatars. Then you choose from like 8 or 10 different eye types. Then you choose the skin tone and fur color and stuff. And, you know, it's pretty basic. But oh egad, the clothing parts you collect. Doing darn near anything in the game will get you like 5 pieces of clothing. Beat a stage, get 5 pieces. S-rank a stage, get 5 pieces. Do one of the missions, get 5 pieces. Oh, look, there's daily missions. Clear some of them, you get some parts. Yeah, there's SOS. There are so many different factors. Collect the red rings. Beat the stage under this time limit. All of these things will get you a pile of clothing. It's not just, 1 piece here, 1 piece there. Piles. The amount of stupid avatar parts I have collected in this game is utterly insane. And that has been one of the things that keeps me going, because I like making my custom avatar character. Now, the avatar is very divisive. I've heard this entire game is very divisive. Some people really wish it wasn't there. Other people wish there was more of it. Like, seriously, I've heard one person be like, this game focuses too much on the avatar and that's its worst part. I've heard someone else say, this game doesn't focus on the avatar enough. It is yet another point of division. I've heard a few people like the classic Sonic stages. I've heard a lot say they don't like it. A lot want pure 3D or are just fine with the modern stages. And, I personally like the Avatar stages the best. A lot of people don't. Actually, the best stages are the tag team stage. There are so many factors to this game, and different people are going to like different things so much. This is going to be such a divisive game. And, yeah, if you don't care about making your own Sonic character, you're probably not going to be that excited for this game the same way I am. But that is a great carrot on a string to keep me going, especially because once I beat the game, apparently I get to make up to 15 different original characters. At the start, you only get 1, because it's supposed to be the same character throughout the entire story. Once you beat the game, oh, yeah, sure, go ahead, make 15. So, very excited to do that, because just been collecting so many crazy parts, and there's so much just crazy good stuff in there. But the other factor, I have to be honest, Shadow the Hedgehog, the video game, is one of my guilty pleasures as a so bad it's good kind of game. I've beaten it, I think, 3 times now, and I come back to it every now and then still. It's not a good game at all, but the way it tries to have this dark, edgy storyline in the Sonic universe, and it all falls apart horribly, repeatedly, as you go between the different branching paths, just brings so much joy to my face. And I will be honest, Sonic Forces is actually a darker and edgier Sonic game than Shadow the Hedgehog. No joke. It is ridiculous. And what makes it even better / worse is that every single major plot twist, every single attempt at adding some drama to the game, they manage to completely bungle. Every plot twist is ruined less than a minute after that twist is made. And this happens so often. Like, when you get to the stage Null Space, you will not believe it. And that is, like, the entire game in a nutshell. And I will talk more about this after a short break, but the story in the game is definitely so bad it's good. Like, it actually has a lot of really daring and interesting concepts, and if it was better written, it might have actually been good. But it's not better written. In fact, it is very poorly written. It is laughably poorly written. And, yeah, so instead it's just funny. Anyway, we will continue talking about that, and I will explain what I mean after the break. But until then, here's Outlaws by someone's little sister, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. That was Downtown by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell. Welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. And just before the break, we were talking about Sonic Forces, a game that is currently sitting at a 53 on Metacritic. 53. And I love it. Because, screw you. Maybe it's the best bad game ever made. But I'm completely... it has so many flaws, and yet it's still so enjoyable. We'll see how that score changes. Because I will be honest, like, if I were to use an out of 10 rating scale, it would be a 7 out of 10. It's the kind of game that I wouldn't actually recommend, but I wouldn't tell you not to get. If you look at Sonic Forces and say, this looks dumb, guess what? It's going to be dumb. But if you look at Sonic Forces and you go, it looks like it might be kind of fun, then chances are you might actually enjoy it. Good chance you might. You know, it's one of those kinds of games. It's not going to change anyone's mind. It's almost irritating in that it is not going to really change very many people's minds about it. If you're convinced this is a bad game, it's going to be bad, and if you're convinced it's good, it's going to be good. It's weird. It's very strange. Anyway, I was talking about one of my favorite elements, which is the horrible story, which is almost good, but manages to bungle itself completely. It is the darkest story I've ever heard in a Sonic game, has a ton of really great twists, and they ruin all of them in less than a minute. Let me tell you, and I don't want to spoil anything. No spoilers, so we're just going to go with the first one, which is a really major one. See, after the first stage, Sonic's rushing to the city, he gets there, and he's like, oh, what's wrong? Oh, city's under attack from Eggman. That sure is a problem. And then all of a sudden, all of Sonic's old villains show up, along with the new villain, Infinite, and they team up and beat Sonic senseless, and he passes out, and it's like, wow, well, Sonic got beat up. I wonder what happens. Okay, screen fades to black. No music. White text on screen. With Sonic defeated, Eggman's forces have conquered almost the entire planet. A ragtag team of resistance fighters are all that stand against him. And now a new face joins the fight. It's like, whoa, wait, they're really going there? And then, cut to the cutscene after that. And everyone is like, we don't know if Sonic is alive or dead. Everyone is just completely distraught. Tails isn't even there because apparently he has completely lost it. And they introduce, you are the new recruit and you make your character and they introduce you. And it's like, wow, we all know Sonic's going to be fine because of all the trailers, and it's a Sonic game, and they're not going to kill off Sonic, but, it's like, let's see how long they go with this. It could be very interesting to be without Sonic for, like, a couple of stages. Nope. Immediately after that cutscene, you click on the next stage to go to after that cutscene, and good news, Sonic's alive, let's break him out. It's like, not even one stage of, oh man, this is so dramatic, Sonic is gone. No, Sonic's fine. And it's, and then you have the tonal problems, because they're like, apparently this is like 6 months later, and they tell you Sonic has been captured and tortured for 6 months. He is in surprisingly high spirits. He gets out and he's immediately cracking jokes about chili dogs. I'm like, do you know how what? Okay, so apparently Eggman is bad at torture, which I actually believe. That's believable. But this keeps happening. Every single twist, there are so many good ones, and they get ruined immediately. Why is Shadow evil now? Ho! That gets ruined really fast. And when you find out the secret of Infinite's powers, you will facepalm. Because it is stupid. It is stupid beyond stupid. But the story is presented with so much gravitas. With cartoon animals. I can't help but just crack a smile and laugh along with the complete mess that I am playing through. Especially this game doesn't play bad. Controls are fine, and it runs very well. That is the thing I really want to focus on. Get this. PlayStation 4 release of the game, 1080p, 60 FPS, constant, no frame rate drops on a regular PS4. You don't even need a Pro. Now, mind you, there's weirdly no real Pro enhancements. They advertise Pro enhancements, but no one can find any. But on PS4, 1080p, 60 FPS. Completely solid. Now, the Xbox One release is only 720p and has some screen tearing issues. And then the Xbox One X release may be the best one, because that actually goes above 1080p, but only for select stages. So playing it on Xbox One X, it actually is enhanced. The real question, then, is the Nintendo Switch version. Because the Nintendo Switch version is the worst version. It has significantly downgraded graphics and runs at only half the frame rate, 30 FPS. So, and it's kind of annoying because that's the one that's selling the best. Everyone's getting the game on the Switch. If they have a Switch, they're getting Sonic Forces on it. Because it makes sense, it goes together well, and it is a significant, relatively significant graphical downgrade. Let me put it to you like this. The file size, if you were to download the game, it is about 19.5 gigs on PS4. It's 7.5 gigs on Nintendo Switch. No content has been cut. Just the difference in texture quality is so big that the game is less than half the size somehow. I don't know how, but, that is a huge drop. So the Switch version's terrible, right? Nope. Switch version's kind of fine. It very much depends on the stage. Like Green Hill Zone, you barely notice the difference visually at all. But you get to that destroyed burning city stage, oh yeah, no, that looks terrible on Switch. But then you get to Chemical Plant Zone, it looks a little worse. And then you get to Luminous Forest, it looks fine. It varies between stages. And yeah, the Switch version runs at 720p, lower resolution, 30 FPS, lower frame rate, significantly lower quality textures, less lighting effects. It is the worst-looking version, and yet most of the people I've been watching stream the game have been streaming the Switch version and talking about how beautiful the game is. And here's the most important thing. That 30 FPS, thus far, hasn't dropped. I picked it up on both PS4 and Switch, and yeah, it's running at half the frame rate, which means the controls are half as responsive, but most of the 3D Sonic games we've played ran at 30 FPS. And Sonic Forces is running at a solid 30. I have not gotten the frame rate to drop yet. Now, I'm still pretty early in. This is part of why I picked it up on Switch. I'm going to have to play through the whole game again on Switch but it's looking like the frame rate's going to be pretty darn stable on the Switch. And all these problems I mentioned, they matter if you're playing on a TV. You play in portable mode, it doesn't matter, because guess what? 720p, that's about the resolution of the Switch screen anyway. Lower resolution textures, can't tell, screen's too small. And then 30 FPS, it's a fine frame rate for a solid 30 FPS, fine frame rate for a portable. Like, the Switch version the worst version is not bad. Now, of course, people have pointed out Sonic Lost World ran at like 1080p 60 FPS on Wii U, and of course Super Mario Odyssey runs gorgeously, and that's on Switch. Yes, because those were designed for that console. Super Mario Odyssey is a Switch game. It is only on Switch, so it's going to run very well on Switch. Rest assured, Sonic Forces was designed for the PS4 first. That really seems to be the central version of the game, and then it was ported to everything else. And admittedly, early reports of the Switch version were pretty darn shaky. It did have frame rate problems, but those seem to have been ironed out, and it runs pretty okay now. And that's very interesting. I'm glad Sega took the time to optimize the Switch version properly, because Sega knows Sonic games sell really well on Nintendo consoles. They knew it would look really bad if they screwed that one up. So, it's good that they ironed that out, and the Switch version isn't bad. And yeah, if you are just going to be playing at home on a TV, egad, get the PS4 version, if it's an option. Or the Xbox One X version if you happen to have one of those. It's not that big of an upgrade, and actually the scaling on some of the stages is screwed up. Go watch the Digital Foundry video. That's what they do. Because that's where I'm getting most of this information from anyway. Because I'm like, they have the frame rate counter thing with the little graph that can tell me things. I don't have access to that technology. So I'm going off what they've observed, but along with my own observations. And yeah, I have nearly beaten the game, and it ran fine. It ran okay. Like 1080p 60 FPS. Good. Very good. And that's the kind of thing that I mean with Sonic Forces, where it's like, this clearly isn't a bad game. Because it is at the very least a well-made game with kind of lackluster stage design with a few gems here and there, and a story that could have been good, but they utterly bungled it, and instead it's so bad it's good. Now, I watched 2 streams yesterday of people playing through the game. I watched the Pete's Game Room stream and Liam from Super Best Friends play. The ex-Super Best Friend, because it was too much stress for him. So, rising superstar Liam. I watched both of their playthroughs. Pete's Game Room was very interesting. His was up and down all throughout the day, because sometimes he was like, I love this game, this is great. Other times he's like, man, this could have been so much better. Like, he never was like, this game is bad, but he was like, they really need to get rid of these classic Sonic stages because they just don't work as well as Mania. Get rid of the 2D, just focus on being a high-speed 3D spectacle for your 3D games and make more Mania. Liam had pretty much the exact same reaction I had. He was grinning from ear to ear for the majority of the playthrough until he started falling asleep because he, playing through the whole thing in one sitting. He was loving a lot of it. And I almost forgot to mention the best part. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get things together to try to pull this off today, but the music in Sonic Forces is amazing. Like, the game is almost worth it just for how good the soundtrack is. All the classic Sonic stages have Sega Genesis style music, and there's no here's this classic song that you already know. No. They are either so heavily remixed they're unrecognizable, or they're completely new songs. And all the classic Sonic stuff sounds like it came off of Sega Genesis. All the modern Sonic stuff is like crazy rock and techno and sounds amazing. And then your custom character, they get vocal trance techno songs for every stage they have. And they are all incredible. I love every single one of those songs, especially because they're so cheesy. The cheese is so good, because, every song, if you actually listen to the lyrics, it's about how you can do it, and we're saving the world, and we gotta stop the evil. It's this is amazing! Just, I don't want to spoil it, but the last big tower stage, I think it's the last stage you play as your avatar alone in, is oh, egad, the song they chose there. Because, especially with the lyrics and what's going on, because it actually sounds almost overly happy and kindergarten-y at first. And then the bass drops, and the techno kicks in, and it's just mind blown with every song. No joke, I am getting that face cam working tonight. I gotta get it working. Fingers crossed I can. Because the whole time I was playing that second half of the game, I was bouncing around like the freaking Numa Numa kid, okay? Like, grinning from ear to ear. Just, the music was too good. Way too good. So yeah, and now you get... And, like, I'm sure you're listening, it's like, wow, you really like this game. Yeah, and I can admit, it's not good, but it's not bad, and it's not mediocre. It is slightly above mediocre, but to a certain subset of people will be Game of the Year. Like, this is the most fun I have had with a video game all year, even though it is objectively inferior to Mania. It is objectively inferior to Sonic Mania. It is objectively inferior to Super Mario Odyssey by a really long shot. It is objectively inferior to most of the games that have come out this year. It is not a particularly good game, but it's not bad. And I am having fun. And that is such a hard thing to for a lot of people to wrap their heads around and reconcile is... It's not good, but I like it. Maybe it is guilty pleasure of the year, because I'm just too much fun. Too much fun. I look forward. This is a game so nice. I intend to beat it twice, because I'm beating that Switch version. But I love what I've got going on the PS4. That's the problem. I've already unlocked so many Avatar parts on PS4, and that's the one I'm playing the bird on, because the bird is. I like the bird the best. Birds get... all the different animals get different special abilities, and the bird gets a double jump. Ooh! But before we go, because we do have to wrap up the show, so I can't really talk about any of the other things, because I was going to talk about how some people are saying Sony doesn't care about VR and how dumb that is, considering how hard Sony's been pushing it. But, before we go... I have to tell you the most amazing thing. I don't know if I mentioned this on a previous show or not, but when I played the demo, the thing that really stood out with Sonic Forces was the fact that Sonic didn't drop his rings anymore. And I was like, what is this? You know, that has been a staple of the series for the most part. You get hit, you drop your rings, you recollect them. Now you get hit, and Sonic loses all of his rings, and they just go away. And then, about 2 hours into my stream, the 1.01 patch for Sonic Forces came out. It was a bug. We thought it was a hard mode feature. No, that was a bug. Sonic is supposed to drop the rings. Somehow, both the demo and the 1.0 release of the game had a bug where one of the central defining features of the Sonic series didn't work, and they had to patch it to fix it. I have no words. I will try to compile all of my Sonic Forces playthrough tonight. Try to get that up on the YouTube channel, which is, of course, youtube.com/game, I think it's /user/GameBabble show. You can probably just search up GameBabble. You'll find your way to it eventually. I'll try to get the playthrough up there tonight. I know tonight I gotta beat the game. Maybe do a little bit of part farming, maybe play a little bit of the Switch version, get a little bit further in that. But mostly I need to beat the game, and I need to try the Episode Shadow DLC. Because that's 3 more stages, and hey, now I can play a Shadow in all the modern Sonic stages. That's free. And there we go. That's what we're going to end the show on. This is kind of an important piece of information. I hate to sound like a salesperson for this, so I'm going to explain something. The reason why you see a lot of a push towards pre-order bonuses and day one editions and stuff is because a lot of video game companies don't make money off of their games after the first couple months. because they don't make any money off of used copies, and if stores aren't ordering more copies, then they aren't selling them. They don't really make money off of your purchase directly. They make the money off of the stores ordering copies, and then your purchase makes the store have to order more copies, right? It's pretty much how it works. And as such, they need as many sales as fast as possible for every game, and that's why you see this huge push towards, hey, here's a bonus thing if you pre-order the game. Put some money down on it, promise you're going to buy the game, hey, we'll give you a little bonus. But it's been mixed up whether whether the bonus is through GameStop and through pre-ordering, or if it's just a day one edition. Sonic Forces is all day one edition. There's nothing on the receipt or anything, just when you crack open the case, there's a code for the bonus costumes. It comes with actual stickers for your controllers to get like a controller skin, and that's on every system. It's on the Switch version, it's on the PS4 version, pretty certain it's on the Xbox One version as well. And it also has a little thing saying, hey, download the Episode Shadow DLC for free, and like for the first month at least, you can download the Episode Shadow DLC for free. Actually, with the PS4 version, they just put up the costumes for download for free, so you don't even need to use your download code. At least that's how it was yesterday. I haven't used mine. I don't know if they're going to fix that, or if that's just the way it's going to be on PS4 due to the digital edition or whatnot. But either way, that's the reason why they do, time-limited, day one edition things. But basically, if you didn't pre-order Sonic Forces, you are not getting screwed out of anything. It's just, it'll say Sonic Forces Bonus Edition, and that one comes with your stickers and stuff. So that's what the deal is with Sonic Forces. I'm loving it, but I admit it's not actually a good game. But oh my god, I love it. I love it way too much, because it's like the right blend of actually pretty good and so bad it's good. It's weird, but I'm having an absolute blast with this thing. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me here on GameBabble Live on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Coming up next, let us see, I think we will play Novocaine by 10 Years. Next, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you once again for listening, and tune in next Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. for more of GameBabble Live. Anyway, here's Novocaine by 10 Years on 89.5 FM. Thank you so much for listening.